let's do a top 5 of characters or dads that were cool, fun, we liked, enjoyed back in the day. I don't know if you want to start it, Gio, or I can start it. I
Hey,
just think it'd be fun.
I mean, do you want to go down the line where you do it your five, or you want to go back and forth?
I
Doesn't
will go
matter.
back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's going first?
I mean, I can start it.
Go.
All right. So my top 5, I got Robin Townsend. He
Robert
was,
Townsend.
yeah, he was in a show called The Parenthood. In The Parenthood, he played a professor,
Yep.
and he had like 6 kids, and I love that show because I mean, obviously it's called The Parenthood, so we know that what that was about. But he had all these kids, different ages, boys, girls. One like this thing, this one like the other. He just knew how to work, come home, and the whole show was just in the home. But every time he opened the door, he came from work. Like his face was like, whoo.
Yeah.
And then
That.
the kid goes, Dad, I just lost my hamster. He's like, oh my God, not, you know what I mean? So I always like enjoyed that character because he just knew how to take care of everybody individually.
I got a question. So you liked him because of? Give me a couple words. What was his main character trait as a dad? Because real quick, the reason why I asked this is
Yeah,
you think
yeah.
about sitcom dads, and for a while I was looking at sitcom dads in the last. It changes, but like in the last 20 years, they've been relatively soft. It's hard to find them. At least I thought, but I wasn't watching enough TV shows, and there are a couple of good ones, right? What
It's the
specific
way
trait about him?
it's the way he was patient.
His
You know what
patience.
I mean? Like
Okay.
you can see how he came home from work. But
Tired.
the patient to yeah, but the patient to listen to everybody and actually get it through. And then when it's dinner time, he's just like, "What's for
Yeah.
dinner, honey?"
Yeah.
So
That's
the patient that he had with all of the kids, whether it was looking for a hamster, he's like, I don't have time for this, but he
or
goes,
whatever
I do.
adventure, right? Yeah.
Yes. So the patience is what I love about him because I feel like I need to build on that more. Even though I do think I'm very patient, but I need more work on that.
Yeah.
So Robert Townsend for me.
I got mine aren't like they're not going to be too surprising. I think again, if you stick within the 80s and 90s kind of time frame, I'll go down the line just so I have it order. But I got Uncle Phil, right? Classic. We know why
Is that
it
your
made
number
the show.
5 or number
No,
1?
no, I don't have an order. This is why I don't have an order
Okay.
because any name of these guys that we say, we can see ourselves in them in one shape or form or in an episode in a show,
Right.
right? These are all dads, and we all have a different color, but we all have a certain. We have our shades as well, right? You can be this kind of dad. Everyone can be a Homer Simpson, and everybody can be a something else at a moment. So that's why I don't have a. I mean, I think I might have one that I would like to patent mine. So I'll save him for last as my number one. But the rest are just interchangeable, right? Okay.
Okay.
But Uncle Phil, like successful lawyer, judge, money, LA, but at home, dad to daughter to son takes in meeting. I don't want to hold it because I know, I don't want to rush through this, but at the same time, I don't want to extend things any longer. But Uncle
Yeah.
Phil, say less.
That's a good one. All right. Number 4. So I'm going to go from 5 to 1 for me. Number 4 is I think this will probably surprise a lot of people. Red Fox as Fred Sanford. Listen, he's a
The junkyard
junkyard dealer.
dad.
Listen, man, he's a but he was a hustler, right? Not only was that he was funny with his kid, but he was taking care of a kid who's a grown man, and still at his age, and he was still giving Lamont life, like still like because it doesn't stop. So I have Fred Sanford because you don't stop being a parent. If you're alive, you're still a dad. It doesn't stop.
And that's in the 70s.
So
And he was in his like 60s, white hair, old. For those that
yes,
don't know, he was old. And his son was in his 40s. Like it's like our dad's show. Think about a show about a guy in his 60s being a dad and running a
yeah.
business that I never saw any work getting done. But they owned it was years ago, but
But it was the relationship between them two though. Like, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like it's like, and here's the thing. Like I said before, it's like you want your kid to take care of you later on. And Lamont was doing that because
Yeah.
dad was doing it to him. So I just love that because he was like a hustler. I see that in me too.
I
So
like it. See?
I know
See?
I know Fred Sanford is not going to be in a lot of people's top anything, but
Nah, I like
he
where you're
was
going with it.
just I
like
love it because he was funny.
You big dummy. You big dummy. You big dummy.
But you're right though, G. You like I did take a little piece of this, little piece of this, little piece of this, and kind of and that's where I win. So yeah,
Yep.
Fred Sanford, man, Red Fox.
Okay. The next one, I think it's kind of controversial a little bit because now that I think about it, he might even been ahead of his time. All right. He was ahead of his time. He'd fit in probably better today as today's dad than the dad in the early 90s. Danny Tanner, Bob Saget. I would normally not put him on the list because think about it. In the show, it's like he's got 3 daughters. His wife tragically passes away. So now he's stuck raising kids, right?
Yeah.
And he's like a soft dad. He cleans, he cooks, he's like a dad mom, right? He didn't swear. And when people would walk in, he would clean up after them. And then like his old buddy or uncle or his wife's brother, would come over and like he's like the male figure, the masculine guy, but the dad is not. So Danny Tanner got a lot of flack, but he was a great dad. For 3 daughters, he had to do what he had to do to be that soft dad. In history, what do you normally see? You think about a dad loses his wife, especially at that time frame or any time frame, 3 daughters, and if he can't handle it, mental, break down, gets into alcohol, and his daughters are all over the damn place. But what did he do? He did what he had to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So props for that.
That's a good one, though. Yeah, I think he's good, too, man. All right, for my number 3, nobody's going to put him on any kind of list, but I do because, I took a little bit of from this person. I like to think that's how I am. So John Witherspoon. Yep. No, everybody, I guarantee everybody's like, who? So John Witherspoon from the Wayans brother. On the Wayans brother, yeah, it's comedy, and he was a diner owner, which is entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I feel the same way. That's what I see. An entrepreneur father, and Sean worked with him, so he's teaching Sean how to be entrepreneur. The ropes. And Marlon had a little Marlon didn't like it because he was clumsy in the kitchen, but he had his own little stand, a magazine stand in the same building, doing entrepreneurship because that's what his father does.
Exactly.
So I took that, and he was so funny with it, and I like to think that's how I am. So I know people's not going to pick it, but
a lot of people would see him as their dad, right? Like the dad's the guy.
Yes.
He's like refrigerator left open. Like I do that. Like I'm always like, why would you throw the banana peel on the counter right here? A foot away is the trash. But he just did it so funny.
It's funny.
You know what I mean? But his character was like, he was literally like irritated. And that's just how he responded to situations. And
so I took a little bit of the entrepreneurship, the funniness, and I like John Witherspoon. So that's my three.
My turn, huh? I'm gonna go with Al Bundy. You know why? People look at him and he's like, he's dirty, he's lazy, he's disrespectful, all of these things.
Sounds like all of us.
That's the grumpy side of the dad, right? It's the grumpy dad. So but look at him. He supposedly had a dream. He was great at football. He's the high school star. He could have been the jock that fell off and became what he was. That's also a narrative, right? But you look at the thing. Like the wife stayed home, didn't do anything. They painted her in a bad picture. That's itself, but it's a show. That's what it is, right? But he basically all the weight
Mm-hmm.
was on him all the time. You know what I mean? And he got put down, but everything always got taken care of. It always got worked out in the end.
Brought the money home.
Yep.
And didn't really live out the dream, which is being a football
Took
player.
Care of business in situation. Knocked out people when they needed to get knocked out.
It doesn't work.
You know what I mean?
Don't mess with Kelly.
No, don't do it.
Because dad's going to punch somebody.
Mm-hmm. But, smoking hot wife.
I like El Bundy, man.
Yeah, he's a classic one for me. I would come home and that was just like, that's what I would watch. I used to love that show. Loved it. It's grumpy
All right.
dad right there.
This is not going to be on anyone's list either. It's not. I already know it's not. Red Fox, John Witherspoon. I'm gonna hit you another one. Bernie Mac. I'm sorry, man.
Good show.
And I'll explain it. Bernie Mac show played as a dad, and all three kids wasn't even his kid.
Yeah,
it was his sisters, right?
Foster dad. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, and the reason I picked him is because I like to think that's how I am with my nephews and nieces. So, being a father doesn't have to be blood. Being a father just means that someone that looks up to you and you show them guidance. It could be a stepdad, right? So that's how I look at it. You don't have to be blood to guide someone or make them be the best that they can be. If you're in their life, you should be able to help. And when it comes to my sister, it's the same thing. She could be like, I need you to take this. I'm like, yeah, bring them over. No problem. So it's that side of the things that I like. And Bernie is not only funny, but he was harsh, because sometimes you have to be harsh too. You know, when he's just like, take your punk ass upstairs. Like, sometimes you got to do that, man. You got to be stern sometimes. Sometimes you got to let them know. You got to let them hear your voice that, yeah, I'm here. I got to put my feet down a little bit. It's my house.
You keep on talking to me with that attitude, little girl. I may not be your daddy, but I'll whoop your ass just like your daddy.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't your daddy. You my sister's kid, but it's me, right? So I see a lot of that also in me, because that's just how I am with whether it's my mom's friends or like they tell me to talk to the kids all the time. And that's just how I am. I think Bernie Mac is actually cool because he was stern and funny. So
yeah,
Bernie Mac for me at 2.
He'd be the dad, even though it was like it was a PG style sitcom where they're not going to swear a lot, but he'd be the dad to swear too. He's a swearing dad, but funny swear and roast you.
Uncle Dad.
Yeah.
Uncle Bernie.
Yeah. And he played on that, like, didn't even want them, but loves them. But you know what I mean? He
just doesn't know how to show it, because it's like, exactly. Oh man,
frustrated because he's old school. Yeah, I got you. Another one I have is I got same era. I got Carl Winslow, Family Matters.
Hey.
He was a cop, but look at some of the dynamics though of his dadship, right? He's got a teenage boy, popular, so he's going to get into all kinds of stuff, right? And they live in Chicago, black family. He's a cop. Like, there's a lot of those in that story, and he has to deal with, right? He's married, shows a good, good home, right? Honest, loving home. Two younger daughters. That old drama. The neighbor's always coming home and trying to chase tail of his daughter. He's chasing Urkel away, and Urkel comes back, right? Yep. And he's got other dynamic between taking in his mother, his elderly mother, shows the old school, and then sometimes the struggles of getting, and it shows the wisdom that she brought to the table to that family, and how he's just like, it shows why he's a caring person, because you see that next extension that you don't see now. Grandparents don't live in the house, right? Mm-hmm. And then maybe the dynamic of the struggles between his mother and his wife, that's a whole other thing. It wasn't a lot, but like it happened every now and again on the show. And his wife's sister Rachel and her son Richie, if you remember those. So he's taking on a lot.
Yeah.
On a cop's salary. So he's policing the world, and he's at home dealing with all these things and all the struggles of the show. So Family Matters always came first. It was never about his job. You saw him come home from work, but he never brought his work home ever.
Yeah. All right. My number one, I think this is expected. It's going to be James Avery, who played Philip Banks, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I think what Geo said, I agree with as well. And I think even Gabby said in the chat too. He was just different, man, just because, he was taking care of his kids. They got a good home, good life. They got everything going for them. And here comes this kid to interrupt everything. A kid who doesn't know any better from, let's say, the ghetto, and he has some troubles. And, he didn't take crap, but, he had that human side of him. He had that humility that he would even connect with Will, even though it's not his kid, but he connected with him in a different way, because when you look at the other kids that he took care of, the father of on the show, you see how they were, and Will is the opposite of them.
Right.
Will adjusted on the fly to say, adjusted on the fly to say, I'm here for you.
Right.
And one of the best moments in history of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was the father scene where, they hugged and cried. Like, I watched that scene, a tear might just stop pouring out of my face. Okay.
It's a tough one to watch, but it's a good one. It's a
Yeah.
necessary one to get a good,
Yeah.
understanding.
Because he was understanding. And then instead of judging his nephew Will, like, right, my kids don't do that. You're coming from a different place. He understood it, and he was able to connect with Will. And I think that's one of the things that I try to do is connect. I think that's important, is trying to understand what you're going through and why you feeling this way, or why you did that, even though we both know it's wrong. But sometimes when you know it's wrong, it's like, it's the only thing I had. It's the only thing I could do. But you know what? It was wrong, but I understand it.
Right.
I'm not going to punish you for it. I get it. Let's move on. So now we use that as a, some sort of example or a learning tool, and we move forward. So when you're in that situation, there's other things you can do. Maybe you should just say, you know what? Go ahead. You got it. Take everything in my pocket. I'd rather live another day. So I just love that about as a matter of fact, like, everybody just calls him Uncle Phil, like, as if he's our uncle too.
He's a father. He's a father. Yeah, it's crazy,
Uncle
right?
Phil. Nobody says James Avery. Everybody says Uncle Phil. So, so yeah, man, that's my number one. But I will say some mentions that I could just say. Carl Winslow, I had here also. I think he was a cool dude. And I think the other one that most people will probably not pick or even remember, it was a dude. Man, the show is called The Rock, and he was a trash man.
Oh,
Ooh,
man,
Lord. Oh, I love me some Rock, man. So yeah, The Rock was up there for me. There was a couple of other ones, but I think The Rock and Carl Winslow was some honorable mention for me. So man, love The Rock, man.
On that mention, right? Before I give my number one, I'm gonna do an honorable mention, but on the opposite, right? The TV dad from the TV show Shameless. Have you ever seen the show Shameless?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
The worst TV dad ever. Like, just for those that don't know, you should watch it. It's great. 9 episodes. It'll be not any show that's gone 9 episodes, 9 seasons. Any show that's gone that long is a reason that it's good. But like, it's like Al Bundy if Al Bundy was a horrible person. Like, he does drugs and drinks and exploits his kids, steals from his kids.
Hey, give me the goddamn meth!
Or what?
But his kids are like 20, 17, 16, 12, and he's got like 6 kids, and the baby is like a black kid, and it turns out to be, spoiler alert. But you get my point. He's the worst dad ever. The Shameless dad is the worst. All right. My number one is the TV show My Wife and Kids with Dameon Wayans plays it. And I think it's not a really like highly popular, but it's a great show. Maybe 6 or 5 seasons. He owns it. He's an entrepreneur. He owns a truck delivery company, right? But I pick him because it's the name of the show is My Wife and Kids, the primary stuff, right? And so it's kind of from his perspective, but you get the story around his life, his wife and his kids. And aside of his business, it's his relationship with his family and his wife and his kids. It's very happy. It's very he'll roast his kid. He'll tell jokes. When his friends comes, he'll roast his kids' friends. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of like he's never really like angry. He's more disappointed. I still got to work on that part because I got a D-Marine. I'm not done yet. I need more time. But like, I'm getting there. But he's my model that I think that I would go off of. I'd rather lead with jokes and love and kindness and an example of what it is to be great and communicate effectively. So it's Michael. I don't remember the name of the family, but his name's Michael in the show. It's Dameon Wayans, and it's My Wife and Kids. And it's a great show. He's a great dad.
I do like it. At times though, when I watch it, I'm like, he's not really acting. It's almost like that's
It's too natural. It's
yeah. I was like, that's him.
yeah.
It's not acting. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good show, man. All right, let's leave it here, man.
Speaking of a good show.